yesterday. I want to thank everybody who's already online and tuned in and locked on this morning, whether you are watching online on my live, whether you are watching online at the street 91.9 FM. If you are listening on your radios at home, good morning to you. We have better weather today, thank God. We have the sun out in all its glory. Once again, my name is Tasha Grace Boris, Tobago West candidate for the Progressive Democratic Patriots. We are here this morning with DJ Mega Vibes, and we have a show in store for you today. It's called Wake Up Wednesdays, because we need to wake up. We need to wake up the consciousness of Tobago people at this time. We need to wake up to the realities that we have been facing. We need to wake up to what has been happening around us. And when we wake up, there's action that is required. Because after you have awoken from your slumber, after you have awoken from that sleep that we have been under for the last 20 years, when you wake up, there's a choice that needs to be made. There's something that needs to be done. There's an action that needs to be taken. And the Progressive Democratic Patriots is here to wake you up, shake you up, break you up, and then make you up. So today is Wake Up Wednesdays. I am so excited and thankful and happy to be here with you guys for the next 2 hours. Hopefully the call-in segment would be a little better today. We had some technical issues yesterday, so my apologies to those of you who tried to call in and were unsuccessful. I hope that the problem is fixed today so that I can hear your calls, that we can listen to your comments, that we could have conversation, that we could have banter. Once again, my name is Tasha Grace Boris, Tobago West candidate of the Progressive Democratic Patriots. I must say that it has been an overwhelming journey for me thus far. Yesterday, we were once again out and about in the community of Canaan, Bonaccord. I met quite a few of you. You said that you tuned into the program yesterday, that you loved the program, you loved the content. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. Thank you for all the calls. Thank you for all the messages. Thank you for all the best wishes. And most importantly, for those of you who bruise your knees every morning, thank you for the prayers, because prayer is what we need at this time. The PDP is fighting a battle on your behalf, not just a battle of flesh and blood, but a battle of all manner of other things that will come against us during this time. We are asking for your covering for our political leader, Watson Duke. We are asking for your covering for our deputy political leaders, Mr. Farley Augustine, Mrs. Alicia Patterson Roberts, and Dr. Faith B. Israel. We are asking for your covering for the members of our National Executive Committee, and we are also asking, I am also asking for your covering for myself and all of our families and our teams as they go out, because they have the people's business at hand. They have the people's business at the forefront. They are there to fight for you. They are there to work for you, and we have demonstrated that we can work. Our no-leaking roof projects have been going immensely successfully in our communities. We have brought change to families. We have inspired hope in persons. We have had persons coming forward to volunteer, to give of their time, to donate resources to this initiative. And I thank every one of you who have gotten on board with that initiative, because we have been changing lives as a result. And this is what it should be about. This is what Tobago was years ago. We knew about Tobago love. Tobago love was a beautiful thing. Tobago love was a sacred thing. Tobago love was something that people dreamed of. Tobago love was a thing that people aspired to receive. But now it seems like if we have allowed politics to mash up this Tobago love, we have allowed politics to mash up the thing that kept us together through rains and storms and economic downturns and hard times, and we have allowed this politics thing to really infect us, to corrupt us. And I'm saying that the Progressive Democratic Patriots, we are a family. We rock and commune. That's all I can say, rock and commune, because this is a party that loves its people. This is a party that loves its members. This is a leadership that only has the best interests of the people at heart. So this morning, once again, my name is Tasha Grace Boris, Tobago West candidate of the Progressive Democratic Patriots. I would like to say a special good morning to our political leader, Mr. Watson Duke. Wherever you are, I hope that you're having a great morning, and I can't wait for you to join me on the program next week. This is Wake Up Wednesdays. Good morning, Zarisha. Good morning, Alex, Travis, Simone out in the United States. I see who else online. Robert, Khalil, all of you. Mommy, good morning, Mommy. I'm seeing all of you online. Thank you for waking up and being with me early this morning. 7 o'clock is an early time. This is usually when the sleep is the sweetest, but we have the people's business to talk about. This is Wake Up Wednesdays. And I want to wake you guys up immediately with a quote. And I'm going to tell you the history of this quote. I have on my lap the Hansard record of 23rd October 2000. And that was a day that most Tobagonians really should have in their memory. That day was the date that the Dispute Resolution Commission report was laid in Parliament. This was the day that report that resulted in Tobago getting its 4.03% to 6.9% allocation. That was the day that this report was laid, and that the persons who were members of Parliament at that time had the opportunity to comment on that report. And I'm going to read for you a quote from a person at the time who was not our Prime Minister. He's currently our Prime Minister, which is Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. This was part of his contribution in the House that day. And I want to read this quote for you because this is Wake Up Wednesdays. Wake Up Wednesdays is about educating. Wake Up Wednesdays is about showing you guys, and things are in black and white. So this is not hearsay. This is not guess. This is not opinion. This is not anybody making up anything. I am reading from the official record of the Parliament, which is the Hansard. The date is 23rd October 2000, the Dispute Resolution Commission report. And you are welcome to look it up when the show is over to fact check anything that I'm about to say. And I pulled out this quote in particular because yesterday I was really upset. I was really upset when I saw the headline yesterday because so many things went through my mind, but I'm just going to read this quote for you and then we will take the discussion from there. And the quote basically says, Mr. Speaker, you cannot legislate behavior. Let me ask you a question. Suppose we adopt and accept this recommendation to give Tobago a certain percentage of the national budget. How does that solve the problem we have in Trinidad and Tobago? The real problem in Tobago is not only about not enough money. It is really about accountability for the monies it has been getting. That is the real problem in Tobago. The Tobago House of Assembly has decided to interpret the laws of this country to suit the officers and officials who are in office today. 20 years later, the officials who were in office back then were the Ho Choi Charles-led NAR. The officials who are there today are the Ansel Dennis-led or fronted PNM. And the words still ring true. Where is the accountability? You have been the Prime Minister for the last 5 years. There was a period when the PNM was in opposition between 2010 and 2015, and then the PNM was in government before that. Tobagonians voted out Ho Choi Charles and the NAR in January of 2001, and we are in 2020, and your words have come back to haunt you because it's your people, your PNM people, who have not accounted for monies that have been spent, who insist that they don't need to account for monies that have been spent, because every time that comes up, you hear excuses about, oh, the Auditor General's office doesn't have enough staff, and oh, this and that and all of the other. You self said it 20 years ago. The problem is not enough money. The problem is accountability. So what have you done? What have you been doing? Have you been holding the Tobago House of Assembly to account? Have you been holding the persons who have sat there for the last 20 years to account? And it's not just Mr. Dennis and his team currently. It's not just Mr. Charles who was previously there. It's Mr. Orville London and those who went before. 20 years of no accountability. 20 years of Auditor General's reports that could not be qualified. And you are now saying that you will not forgive Tobagonians for making a different choice? Honestly, Mr. Rowley, this is the road that we are walking with you. 20 years ago, you said to the nation, the Tobago House of Assembly has decided to interpret the laws of this country to suit the officers and officials who are in office today. Your words shall condemn you. Because who has been in charge for the last 20 years? Your people, your party. Have they been accounting? Have they been accountable? Have they answered questions? I could remember when the former chief secretary was called before the JSC and he sent a lawyer letter. He did not show up to account for the people's money, to account for his stewardship, to account for the systems and processes and procedures under his charge. We've had people bobbing and weaving when it comes to accountability. We have had persons dodging questions when it comes to accountability. You said it 20 years ago. You said it in reference to another political party, but your party now is even more guilty than those who went before. I beg of you, people, do your research. This is the Hansard. The date was 23rd October 2000. This is Wake Up Wednesdays. We need to wake up. We need to wake up because we need to understand where the fight is taking place. We need to understand the history of where we are at or where we've been to understand where we are at present and to see where we will be going in the future. Your current Prime Minister said those words 20 years ago in response to Tobago asking, triggering the Dispute Resolution Commission to get a fair allocation of the national budget. He spoke about accountability back then, and apparently not going to sleep. Because the law is only good for one set of people. The law is only good when it's other people who have to account. But when it's your people who have to account, the law ain't good for you. The same cannot be said. Do as I say, but not as I do. Good morning, everyone. Good morning for those of you who are now joining in. You can text me. The number is 7346355. Let's talk about accountability. Let's talk about the fact that we have persons in high office who insist on telling the people of this nation, do as I say, but not as I do. He talks about not giving Tobagonians a pass if they elect Dr. Rowley, yet he continued giving passes to one Marlene MacDonald. Answer to that. You returned her to your cabinet on 3 occasions. She has been charged. Did you ask for her resignation as a member of parliament? No. But yet, you want to legislate behavior. The same man who said that you cannot legislate behavior. You want to hold others to account, but yet the people who you have surrounded yourself with, apparently they are above accountability. Apparently they are above answering questions. Right? We had a sitting attorney general. We have a sitting attorney general whose children were photographed with high-powered rifles. Where's the accountability in that? We had a sitting minister accused of sexual harassment, and a report was commissioned, and it was rubbished. It was not made public. Where's the accountability in that? We appointed somebody to investigate situations at the Port Authority with respect to the inter-island ferry service, and promises were made about that report being made public so that the people could see where our taxpayers' money went and who was responsible for sending it in places where it ought not to have gone. Where is the report? Where is the accountability in that? You have some questions to answer, sir. Respectfully, you have some questions to answer. Because just as how you can conveniently come to Tobago to fix situations in your party, and you can talk about accountability from a standpoint of where it's okay to point fingers on the other side, but you're not looking at the fingers pointing back at you. You have some questions to answer. The government funds don't belong to you. You are the government, yes, but you account to the taxpayers because we elect you. Where is the accountability, sir? We still have persons who have not received social grants, COVID relief. Where is the accountability, sir? I am a taxpayer. Social support is not coming from your pocket, it's coming from the coffers of the Treasury, which are taxpayers' funds. I have a right to know who are the persons who have received and the amounts they have received. And I have a right to know how many persons have applied and how many people were rejected and on what basis they were rejected. I, as a taxpayer, have a right to know. Where is the accountability when it comes to you? Where is the accountability when it comes to the people who you surround yourself with? Those are questions that you need to answer. Because apparently accountability is only good when you are pointing fingers at the opposition. But when it comes to accountability on your side, you are silent. All of a sudden, the law has to take its course. All of a sudden, you have to let legal matters play out. But when it comes to holding your people to account, nothing. Good morning, everyone. This is Tasha Grace Boris, PDP candidate for Tobago West. I am looking at the comments in my live. Yeah? Maureen, you said Duke has more questions to answer. No elections in how many years in the PSA? Duke is not even obeying the court. Okay, Maureen, Mr. Duke would be here next week, and I want you to tune in next week, and I want you to pose that question to him, where he'll have the opportunity to answer you and anybody else who has any questions on the PSA. I can't speak on behalf of the PSA. I'm not an employee there. And this is the Progressive Democratic Patriots, by the way. This is our morning program. Thank you for joining in. Yeah? So Mr. Duke would be with us next week. You can pose all of your questions to him, and I don't think he would have any issue in answering you or anybody else. Yeah, but this is the Progressive Democratic Patriots, and this is Wake Up Wednesdays. And I am here with you for the next hour and a half. I have in the studio with me Sean. Sean, good morning.
Good morning, Tasha. Good morning, Tobago.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
How are you today, Sean?
I am quite fine, thank you. I am was just looking through the newspaper headlines under the subheading the 2020 general elections. I see that in Trinidad we have a lot of things heating up. It seems to be a four-way race for the St. Augustine seat.
Really?
And very interestingly, I noted that another individual is opting to throw their hat in the ring in the Tobago political space.
Really? Who's that?
That is a gentleman. I saw it on a group post actually. He seems to have gone up for an independent candidacy at some point before.
Right. And what seat is he running for?
I believe it is Tobago West.
Interesting. So Tobago West appears to be a three-way fight at this time. Yeah. So I look forward
to another entity that.
Oh, really?
Would have claimed.
Well, this is rather interesting. But you know what? I have already said on many occasions, and I would keep repeating it, I have made peace with the outcome. The victory is in the journey, and there's so much to celebrate already. There's so much success that we've already experienced, and I am thankful for, again, the opportunity to come to you, to present myself, present my credentials as the candidate for Tobago West for the Progressive Democratic Patriots. I know Mr. Watson Duke is as equally humbled and thankful for the opportunity to present himself to the electorate as the candidate for Tobago East. And I know that in the run-up, we will run the best campaign that we can. And we are just looking for your support to become the chief advocates for Tobago. It is Wake Up Wednesdays. It is now 7:33 a.m. For those of you who want to send me a message, the WhatsApp number is 734-6355. That number again, 734-6355. We will attempt at some point in time in the morning to have some calls come in. That number, if for those of you who would like to have it, it's 717-9591. Hopefully the phone lines are working better this morning so that I am able to talk to you and hear your comments and interact with you. It is Wake Up Wednesdays. So for those of you who are now joining in, I read an excerpt from the Hansard, from the contribution of Dr. Keith Rowley. This was 23rd October 2000, which was the date that the Dispute Resolution Commission report was laid in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. And his comments are very telling, because his comments indicated back then that he had questions over accountability in the Tobago House of Assembly. And the Tobago House of Assembly back then was led by Mr. Ho Choi Charles. 20 years later, those question marks still remain. The thing is, the difference is that back then, Dr. Rowley was just a mere member of Parliament. Now he is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and for 5 years he has been there. No questions about accountability has been raised, but the people need to know. There have been questions that have been raised over the spending of taxpayers' money in the Tobago House of Assembly. Questions have been raised about investments that have been made on behalf of the people of Tobago, and what benefits have we received as a result of those investments. And you know, we had recently the Manta Lodge and Sanctuary issues coming up. We also have that outstanding issue of that missing monies from that supposedly went to the wrong Virgin Atlantic account. We also have the issue with the monies that were paid to D'Angelo, the artist who never showed up for the jazz, and where that money has gone and whether or not we have received those monies. And the thing about it is, you cannot be calling, you cannot be pointing out persons when you have questions of accountability. But when your people are guilty of the same thing, you are unable to even ask them the questions. You're unable to answer the questions. You need to be fair. You need to be able to call a spade a spade. If we had issues of accountability 20 years ago, and you as Prime Minister watching along because you've been a member of Parliament all of that time. All of that time, you were a member of Parliament. You never raised it at cabinet level. You never raised questions back then during your tenure over the last 20 years about accountability in the THA. No. Y'all said PNM in Trinidad, PNM and in Tobago, Tobago business fix. And y'all took a hands-off approach. Successive governments, both PNM governments and UNC governments, have taken a hands-off approach to the THA, and you have failed in your duty. Because as Prime Minister, you are chief accountant. You are the chief accountant to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And if there is an issue in the Tobago House of Assembly or any other agency, whether it be a regional corporation, whether it be a state board, whether it be a national company, whatever it is, you are the chief accountant.
You know, Tashia, just to interject, on that said point, what I've noticed is a trend in the behavioral pattern by the Prime Minister. When it comes to political issues, as it relates to his political entity in Tobago, he's very much present.
Right.
He finds himself over here. He finds the time when the PNM had their internal elections, himself and the former chief secretary found himself here. And there were pictures circulating and so on, showing all of them sitting down, being all chummy, and being, you know, creating an image that they are together and that they are united. However, when it comes to accountability and holding institutions responsible for their actions and what they have been doing and continue to do, he is very much always absent.
And very much silent. Let me go down to page 159. I had such a good time reading this particular Hansard record because it's almost like if History is repeating itself. Dr. Keith Rowley, again, because I'm reading his contribution, I'm reading excerpts from his contribution, because his contribution was very telling. The very things he spoke about 20 years ago are the same things happening now under his stewardship. Right? Let me read another paragraph. In every facet of national life, there have been disputes largely funneled and fueled by poor governance. And it only happens that the Tobago House of Assembly Act provides for dispute resolution. When this thing was passed in this house, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would have seen this thing being invoked. In fact, I was opposed to the clause because I felt that there would never have been a need for this clause, a need for public servants to intervene to tell the elected government how to treat Tobago. It has come to pass in the short time of 5 years where the coalition partner, those who have benefited and prospered from Tobago's generosity, have treated the people of Tobago with absolute contempt. Your words come back to condemn you, because your words yesterday are treating Tobagonians with absolute contempt. Let's call a spade, Wake Up Wednesdays. You opposed the clause that provided for dispute resolution between the Tobago House of Assembly and central government. You opposed it. Your own words are here. You did not support that. You did not support the idea of public servants who are professionals in their own right, who supposedly have no political affiliation, who get paid to do a job. You have a problem with public servants acting as mediators between two bodies, the THA and the central government, because the dispute here was an adequate allocation for Tobago, a fair allocation out of the national budget to drive development in Tobago, and you opposed it. You said it here, you opposed it. And then you stood up. You stood up in your contribution to say that you thought that you would have never seen the day that it would actually be invoked. That's what you said. And then on top of that, you said that the then coalition partner, the UNC at the time, who benefited and prospered from Tobago's generosity, have treated the people of Tobago with absolute contempt. Your words. The only difference today is that that partner is the PNM in Tobago, and they have treated the people of Tobago with absolute contempt. You have treated the people of Tobago with absolute contempt, Dr. Rowley. That's what you've done. Our sea bridge and our air bridge should have never reached the state that it reached. 20 years later, the cost of living has skyrocketed since 2000. And yet still, we have never revised that initial range that was given to us in 2000. No revision. 20 years down the road. Anybody out there still working on 2000 salary? My first salary was $2,000 a month. I can't even pay rent with that. I can't even buy groceries with that. I can't take care of my children with that. But 20 years later, Tobago is still expected to take care of our people, take care of our island. And all successive governments have done is give us the bare minimum. That's what you have done.
Lashia, I just want to read an excerpt from today's newsday. It's also further discussing the statements that the Prime Minister would have made yesterday. And it reads, Rowley said the PNM is confident the vast majority of electors of Tobago are decent, right-thinking, proud citizens who will use their franchise to preserve our committed standards Therefore, no such situation will arise. We of the PNM are always held to a higher standard and will not let our country down when called to stand up on principle.
So where was the standards when Darrell Smith was accused of sexual harassment and a committee was commissioned to investigate that? And that report was done, and it was that committee comprised of eminently qualified women in our society. And their names were brought into disrepute. And that report was rubbished. Standards? You need to miss me with that. People, I want you guys to do some research. The Hansard is there, you know. This is part of what democracy looks like. There's a record. Everything that a parliamentarian says in parliament is recorded. This is not what Tasha say. This is not what Duke say. It is here, black and white. The Hansard of the 23rd of October 2000. The contribution of Dr. Keith Rowley. Let me read this for you guys again, because I was shocked when I read this, because it's almost like if everything he said 20 years ago is what they are all guilty of today. When this thing, what thing he talking about? This clause that, so if this thing wasn't there, it means that they could just give Tobago what they feel. If we ask for 5 billion and they feel, nah, we go get them at 1 billion and they gonna make do with that. Thank God for the thing. Thank God for the thing. When this thing, hear the contempt, this thing, something that provided for a minimum allocation for the people of Tobago. Something that provided protections to the people of Tobago in terms of an allocation, not just for the Tobago House of Assembly, but for development projects, for investments for our children and our grandchildren and our future. Something that provided for protections for us to be able to chart the course of our development. The man calling it a thing. This thing. When this thing was passed in this house, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would have seen this thing. What thing the man say, no? This thing being invoked. In fact, I was opposed to the clause because I felt that there would have never been a need to this clause. Let me repeat that. In fact, I was opposed. He opposed this clause. He opposed the idea of a minimum allocation for Tobago in the national budget. He opposed it. And this is a pervading sentiment that a lot of persons have, you know, that Tobago brings nothing to the table. That Tobago comes cap in hand every year begging for consideration. Tobago does not come cap in hand begging. We have resources here. We have natural land-based resources here. We have maritime resources surrounding our island. Tobago brings something to the table. All we have ever asked for was a fair allocation. That's all. That's all we've ever asked for. And we've been asking, and we asked, and we asked, and when we realized nobody was listening to us, we triggered this clause. And this man said this thing. He never thought this thing would be invoked. Thank God the thing was invoked. Because to this day, no government after this range was set took us back to the table and say, you know what? Cost of living gone up. It's more expensive to live in Tobago than in Trinidad. Tobago does not have the economies of scale as Trinidad does. Tobago doesn't have an international port. Tobago doesn't have certain goods and services immediately available to it. Tobago doesn't have a manufacturing sector. Tobago barely has a tourism industry. Tobago barely has international flights operating directly into Tobago. Most persons who want to travel to Tobago have to travel to Trinidad and then come over. So because of the fact that Tobago has it much harder than Trinidad to be able to survive, let me up this allocation now. Let me give Tobago a little 7%, a little 8%, something. Nothing. You didn't want this thing to begin with. So I'm not surprised that you never even wanted to discuss revising this thing. Because in your mind, it was only a thing. It wasn't being fair to the people of Tobago. It was just a thing for you. It wasn't ensuring that Tobagonians could enjoy an equally as good standard of living as Trinidadians. It was just a thing for you. Well, it wasn't a thing for Tobagonians. And funny enough, we voted out the man who was able to bring us to that point. And we've put people in there who've used this thing and abused this thing. Let me go back to reading what you said. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would have seen this thing being invoked. In fact, I was opposed to the clause because I felt there would never have been a need for this clause, a need for public servants to intervene to tell the elected government how to treat Tobago. Thank God for public servants then. Thank God for public servants. Because public servants get paid to do a job. Public servants bring their skills, they bring their competencies, they bring their knowledge to guide public policy. Because what do politicians know after all? That's why public servants are there. They guard the guards. And public servants had to step in. Public servants had to say no. What has been given before is unfair to the people of Tobago. It has been unfair and it has stagnated their development. And because of that, we are proposing that we set this range to ensure that everybody, central government and THA, is aware that there is a minimum to be received. And there's a maximum that can be received. And thank God for that. Because I don't know what would have been our lot in this life as Tobagonians if it was left up to politicians to determine what we receive. Because you said yesterday you would not forgive Tobago if Tobago makes a particular choice. So what does that mean? If you're re-elected as Prime Minister and me and your two eyes making 4 in Parliament as the representative for the PDP in Tobago West, that because of my presence there, because I've been elected by the people, because I've been elected by the people to serve and advocate on my behalf, and Mr. Duke will be next to me, you and his two eyes making 4, that you will punish Tobago people because of their choice? That's what you're saying, Mr. Prime Minister? I hope that's not what you're saying. I hope that is not what you're saying. Because democracy, the hallmark of democracy is being able to choose. That's the bottom line. Anybody, once you've not been convicted of a crime, once you're not bankrupt, once you're not mentally retarded, once you are in your fullest capacity, can offer themselves up for election. Anybody. Anybody. Right? So who are you to say that you would punish a group of people, that you would not forgive them? Forgiveness comes from you, Dr. Rowley? I did not know forgiveness came from you. I wasn't aware of that. Because the thing about it is this. Would you ever say that you would never forgive the people of Superior for voting back in Dr. Kamla Persad Bissessar? You'll never say that. You will never say that. You will never say you will not forgive the people of Pointe-à-Pitre or wherever if they vote in UNC candidates. You will never say that. But apparently, Tobago people have to obey what you say. Tobago people only have to do what you tell them to do. And Tobago people can't exercise any other choice but the PNM. But I'm telling you, Dr. Rowley, thank God for the Progressive Democratic Patriots. Because Tobago has a choice. Tobago has an alternative. Tobago has people who they know will fight for them. Tobago has people who will use their voices, use their talents, use their skills, use their time to fight on their behalf. Thank God. Thank God for that. They have a choice now. We have a choice now. And leave it up to the people to decide whether they want us or not. Let us sell ourselves. Let me present my resume. Let Mr. Duke present his resume. Right? Allow me as a young person the opportunity to choose the vehicle upon which I want to represent my people. Right? You know what's the funny thing? So many people know me. So many people grew up with me. So many of people went to school with me and know my brothers and know my family and they know what I give. And these same people were people I might have called friends before I entered politics. And because I have chosen this vehicle, because I've chosen the Progressive Democratic Patriots, it's the worst amount of hate. And you know, if I had chosen the other side, it would have never been like this. They would have supported me. They would have lauded me. They would have bigged me up because I choose their side. That is okay. I still love all you. I wouldn't pass all you straight in the road. It's still blessings because you are Tobagonian. I am a Tobagonian first. What I'm fighting for is for all of we to enjoy, not just for who on my side. What we are fighting for is for all of us to benefit, all of our children to benefit, all of our generations to benefit. When people call me, message me, send me inbox messages on Facebook, asking for assistance, I never ask them who they support. I don't ask them who they're voting for. I don't want to know. You know why I don't want to know? That is not my business. That is not my business. My only business is whether or not I can help you and how long it would take for me to get that help to you. That is my business. Because you're a human being. You have reached out to me, a total stranger to you, because you think I can help. And I have placed myself in this. I've placed myself in a position. I've presented myself to you and said, look, I want to help. I want to advocate for you. I want to speak for you, but I also want to put in the work for you. That is what I've done. And you have people telling me that I have no right to choose, to not choose your vehicle to get where I want to go. No, that is not your place. That is not your right. That don't belong to you. The outcome of this has already been decided by God. Let people enjoy things. Tobago, this is Wake Up Wednesdays. My name is Tasha Grace Boris, PDP candidate for Tobago West. Thank you guys for tuning in, whether it be on radio, whether it be on the live. Let me see if I can read a message. Great going, Tasha. Give them good. Well, it's Wake Up Wednesdays. Wake Up Wednesdays, it's time to give them good. Yeah? It's time we are able to have these candid conversations. It's time for we to talk the things. I mean, yesterday was Talk the Things Tuesday, but it seems like if Wake Up Wednesday is going the way of Talk the Things Tuesdays. But I'm providing the information for us to wake up, guys. When you have some time, look for it yourself. Look for the Hansard record. 23rd of October, 2000. Dispute Resolution Commission report. And let me read the last part of the quote again, and then I would move on. I would go down more into the document. It has come to pass in the short time of 5 years where the coalition partner, those who have benefited and prospered from Tobago's generosity, have treated the people of Tobago with absolute contempt. Let me change one part of that. Let me bring it to today. Let me bring it to the 8th of July 2020. It has come to pass in the short time of 5 years under Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, an administration that has benefited from the patience, from the love, from the long-suffering attitude of Tobagonians. And they have turned around and treated Tobago with absolute contempt. That is what you have done. You have presided over the dismantling of an institution that Tobagonians hold near and dear. Never in our history, in our wildest imagination, could we have seen what took place in the THA play out before our eyes this year, where there was such a naked grab for power. Tobagonians had their issues with the previous chief secretary. We had them. But you know what? We chose him. The PNM and the PDP ran for an election in 2017. The result was 10-2. Tobago chose its chief. And when you used your Tobago Council, your private party group in Tobago, to usurp the authority of a sovereign democratic institution as the Tobago House of Assembly, to have a sitting chief removed, all because he lost an internal game of snake and ladders. You move with chief. We had our problems with him and we would have worked on him. We would have hoped that at some point in time he might have wake up. He might have started to advocate on our behalf. He might have come into his own. You know, people could change. As long as you have life, there's an opportunity for better.
Dr. Winford James actually wrote an article describing the goings-on in the Tobago House of Assembly as it related to the PNM Council of Tobago as a comedy of errors.
Well,
that is what he described.
It's past the stage of comedy. It's a tragedy. And if we don't recognize it for the tragedy that it is and was, because it's still a tragedy being played out. Right? It's still a tragedy being played out. Imagine the persons who worked hard to build this THA, to build an institution that Tobagonians could be proud of, to build an institution that we could have respect for, to build an institution that we could hold ourselves up and pat ourselves on the back and say, yes, we have something resembling government in Tobago. Essentially, you mash it up. That's what you did. You presided over this tragedy. So guys, I'm getting a signal. We have to go to a break. So take some time, drink some water, get some tea and some breakfast, and we will be back shortly.
Right now we are say Watson D for the East, Tasha B for the West.
Straight out in a star.
Yo, this I no joke. Vote. This I no joke. Vote.
The
say right now. This I no joke. Say we a vote PDP, we a vote PDP, cause we want betterment, yeah, for we country. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, PNM them never do nothing for we. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, full time me try feed Duke, Mr. Farley. Vote PDP, me a vote PDP, kick out, pressure pot rolling. 5 years no worry session. Tell me with the L pressure pot. Roll it up and him not give it with the right, but him a take it with the left. And tell me with the LTH he do it 2.2 billion and the people in Tobago. Pure sufferation. Had the worst government me ever see govern. Raging bull with no direction. All me a see a just bad intention. And me na talk no lie, me a speak the truth. From Kelvin Charles signing them upon you. Now I walk up and the youth and him a try get the youth. They would lie, them a just blow me a talk the truth, me nah talk no lie. Instead them risk pay, only food I get and poor people a cry. Me ask them why. And me a vote PDP, we a vote PDP, cause we want betterment, yeah, for we country. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, PNM them never do nothing for we. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, full time we try to feed Mr. Farley. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, kick out, pressure pot rolling. PDP, 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 I just the PDP. PNM, no do nothing for we. Positivity, it burns all negativity. PNM, them only coming with the negativity. Don't get caught up in the light, they put in front your eyes to see. Look how long PNM are blind, we never want. We know the truth about what them do with money. So kick out, pressure pot rolling. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, cause we want betterment, yeah, this I no joke. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, PNM, them never do nothing for we. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, full time we try to face Mr. Farley. Vote PDP, we a vote PDP, kick out, pressure pot rolling. Vote, this I no joke. Vote, say we a vote. Full time for them get this kick out, this I no joke. Vote. What me say? This I no joke. Vote. Kick out. Right now we are say Watson D for the east, Tasha B for the west.
This radio station is a real station in Tobago.
Street 91.9 FM, where we keep the vibe.
This is a public service announcement. Get your fire extinguishers. Your radio is about to blaze. 91.9 FM. More music, more vibes, more energy. 91.9 FM Tobago.
Love is the anthem.
Back. This is Wake Up Wednesdays. My name is Tasha Grace Boris, PDP candidate for Tobago West, and I had to go down and do some research because this is Wake Up Wednesdays, and every Wednesday until the election we will be bringing information to you to wake you up. Some of you are still on the fence, some of you are still slumbering, some of you, and it's not your fault, because if we don't educate our population, how can our population make educated decisions and educated and informed choices. And this is my job as someone who is presenting myself to you as a candidate, that I should be able to assist in educating persons as to our history. We need to know where we have been to understand why we are where we are at, and to know and to be able to decide where we can go. I want to read the end part of Dr. Rowley's contribution, right? And again, I read this. This is the Hansard of 23rd October 2000. This was his contribution in the House for the Dispute Resolution Commission's report that was laid in Parliament. These are his words. These are not mine. If anybody sends me a legal letter, I will stand up in court and read this exact document back to them. I am not making this up, people. This is matter of public record. It is in black and white. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I tell you, the people of Tobago do not deserve this kind of treatment. They have been brought to this position kicking and screaming. They have been treated with absolute neglect by those who should owe them a debt of gratitude. However, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I will close by telling the people of Tobago that they must learn from their experience. If they had chosen carefully, and if they had not chosen the current member for Tobago East, who abandoned the party that elected him and sided with the Trinidad UNC exploiters, they might have had a voice which would have said to the government that Tobago's needs are not being met. Instead of that voice, what they had was a voice of support for all that has happened. I want you guys to think. Have our two MPs, current MPs, have they ever advocated for anything on our behalf? Silence. Voices of support. They have supported their leader. They have supported him in all of the decisions that he made that resulted in negative fallouts for the people of Tobago. The people of Tobago have been brought to this position kicking and screaming. If they were doing such a good job, I wouldn't be here. I would not be presenting myself as an alternative. We have once again been brought to this position 20 years later, kicking and screaming. You promised us that autonomy would be settled. You promised us that. That's what you did. Where is that bill for today? You haven't even come to the people of Tobago and apologized. You haven't even said, you know, I tried. I took it to the House. They rejected it. I tried, I made amendments. They reject it again. I went a third time. Nothing. You did not even try. You didn't even try. Because you know, if you had tried, we would have geared that pass. I'm using back your words. We would have geared the pass. We would have said at least you tried. But you didn't try. You didn't try, and you have made no apologies for not trying. And we had two MPs when they should have used their voices to advocate for Tobago people business. Silence. They're stomping in support of Trinidad fixing their business, because Trinidad fixing their business. We only have 2 seats in the House. Tobagonians, I want you to understand what that means. That's why we need to wake up. We only have 2. They have 39. They don't have to listen to us. You know, the only thing we can do is make them listen to us. That's the only thing we can do. And we are not a protesting bonfire in the road type of people. Tobagonians are long suffering. It's 20 years we are long suffering. We will give a man a chance now. And if he mess up one time, we will forgive and give him another chance. And if he mess up a third time, we might still be convinced kind of way to give him a third chance. But you see, when Tobagonians fed up, when we get to the point where we kicking and screaming, because we kicking and screaming right now. We might not be doing it out in the streets. We might not be blocking the roads. We might not be dragging all furniture out there and setting fire to it and putting up placards. We might not be doing that. But when I go into my communities, when I walk on the streets, when I have conversations with people, they are fed up. They're screaming inside. They can't get it out. That is what is going on with my people. And they just want somebody to talk for them because the victimization is too real. The victimization is too real. That we can't even use our voices anymore. That we can't respectfully agree to disagree. That we can't just express how we feel and leave it at that. No. You know what they're telling you? You know what they're telling us? You're not allowed to feel. You're not allowed to have emotions. You're not allowed to choose differently. Because why? If you choose differently, I'll not forgive you. As far as I'm aware, forgiveness lies with the Lord above and not with any man. That's what I know. Tobagonians have been brought to their knees. We are at a crossroads. This is 2020. And we still having a conversation about a minimum allocation of just over 4%. That they can have a budget being presented or a wish list being presented in the assembly chamber asking for 4.71 billion. And we have our chief going on record saying, well, we go only get 2.5. That is what we're voting for?
Because he knows.
That is what we're voting for? Wake up, Tobago. This is Wake Up Wednesdays. The Progressive Democratic Patriots is presenting themselves to you as a viable option. I have a call coming in. Where is my DJ? I really hope that I can get this call. So let's see if it works.
Hi, good morning. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Let's see if this works. Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, you're hearing me,
Is that a radio
sir?
station?
Yes, this is 91.9 Street FM.
Right, this is the station with the candidate to Watson Duke, yeah?
Yes, my name is Tasha Boris, PDP candidate for Tobago West. How are you today, sir?
Not too bad. Are we on air?
Yes, we are on here, sir.
Right, is this the time to phone in and make a contribution?
You are welcome to do so at this time.
I'm not interrupting your commentary, am I?
No. You go ahead, sir. You speak.
So, and as I am speaking now, is the population of Tobago able to hear me?
They should be able to, yes.
Those who are listening?
Yes.
Let me first start off by saying many moons ago, maybe before you were even a twinkle in your mother's eye, I was born in Tobago in Milford Road.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the first registered midwife on the island.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to call names or say anything else, but I'm going to leave it at that. Yesterday you were asking about Tobago and its importance. but I lived in Trinidad, lived abroad for a number of years. And I want to say this to the Tobagonians. The most important part of Trinidad, do you know what the most important part of Trinidad is?
I'm listening, sir.
It's Tobago. Because without Tobago, Trinidad cannot afford to make the leaps and bounds it has made in the industrial world and still have the added attraction of the beauty, the environment, the untouched surroundings that Tobago presents. Now, I have been up and down the islands, and let me tell you, Antigua may have 365 beaches for the day. Barbados may have beautiful beaches. But Tobago has its own beauty, its own calm, its own serenity. And Trinidadians can favor Tobago just like the rest of the world, because people from the Caribbean can go to Tobago. And Tobago needs to be promoted not only to Trinidadians and the outside world, but also to the rest of the Caribbean. Let me tell you, the Tobagonians are reaping the rewards of what they sowed. Because under this present Rowley administration, they have been pillaged and plundered and pilfered. You understand me? And if Tobagonians do not wake up and come out in force and put their finger where they're supposed to put their finger and bring back your party or put your party in power, a new party, a new governance. You know, all this thing about Watson Duke has a sexual charge, and because he has a sexual charge, he's innocent until proven guilty. Right? He's innocent until proven guilty. But what you have to look at the stark facts. The stark facts is that he brought scandals that the Tobagonians didn't want it. There was massive failure in regenerating Tobago. The sea bridge, businesses, endless people have been suffering, right? And now you want to just start sloganeering and start threatening people if they are to vote.
Can I put it up?
Are you hearing me? Hello?
Listening to you. Yes, I'm listening to you, sir.
Right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, all I can say is I wish you all well. I hope you all are focused, and I hope the people of Tobago wake up and smell the coffee, as the saying goes, to come out and say, you know, enough is enough. We now have to get a change. We have to get a change of governors. And let me tell you something. If Watson Duke's party wins those 2 seats, you will carry the balance of power. You will carry the balance of power. Right? So I can only wish you well and say I hope that those who are listening have heard what I have had to say.
Yes.
And in some small way, it has contributed to confirming in their minds that when they go out to vote, they know they're voting for the right party that is going to bring back to Tobago a certain amount of self-integrity and proper self-governance.
Great.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you for calling in. I don't have to add anything to what he just said. Well, for those of you who are on the live, you would not have heard him. But he preached. That's what he did. He preached. He preached a sermon, right? He started off by saying what is the best thing about Trinidad, and he said the best thing about Trinidad is Tobago. That's what he said. I want Tobagonians to wake up and understand what that statement means. The best thing about Trinidad is Tobago. Us, we, this 116 square miles with 60,000 plus people. We are the conscience of this country. Some of the most brilliant minds in this country came from the belly of this Tobago. That's what it is. We don't understand what we have. And I want Tobagonians, I would keep saying, wake up. We are sitting on a diamond mine. Some of the best natural resources, a population of proud people.
I can take her off and put her, she must talking like.
Rich culture. That is who we are. That is who we are blessed to be. This is where we came from. We fought. We fought against our colonial slave masters. We revolted. Those of you who live in Roxborough will know about the Belmana riots. We fought. When did we give up fighting for ourselves? When did we start allowing a small section of our population to determine who we became? To dictate to us what we should say, what we should do, who we should associate with. We have so much potential. We would live and die with this potential if we don't wake up. If we don't wake up. I saw somebody commenting on my life about me being unbalanced and just harping on the PNM. Well, the PNM has been in power for quite a number of years, sir. They have had the opportunity to craft the political history of our country. We have only had alternative governments on how many occasions? 3 occasions? The NAR, 86 to 91, the UNC, 95 to 2000, the People's Partnership, 2010 to 2015. So I could harp on the PNM because they've been there the longest.
That's right.
And what we are seeing now is the seeds that they sowed growing into the trees and the weeds that we're seeing being perpetuated in society to this day. No other alternative has stayed in government long enough to change the course of our history. Right? And yes, they are guilty of their own sins. Don't get me wrong. This is a Tobago issue. I keep telling people this is not about PDP, PNM, UNC. It's how central government, whoever has sat at the seat of power in central government, has treated with the people of Tobago. And when I talk about the people of Tobago, I'm not talking about the people of Tobago who vote one side over the other. I'm talking about all the people of Tobago. I'm saying that we have been abused. I'm saying that we have been disrespected. I'm saying that we have been treated like little children. I'm saying that we have not been allowed to become self-actualized because somebody else has always determined our destiny. I'm saying that we deserve the chance to be able to determine our own destiny. And they have promised us this. Successive governments have promised us that chance. And once again, another government has failed us. Another government has failed us. It don't matter what color jersey they wear down there. 39 verses 2. 39 verses 2. I want people to understand that. Wake up, Tobago. 39 verses 2. This is not a PNM, PDP, PP, UNC issue. It is a Tobago, Trinidad relationship issue. All we have been asking for is the opportunity for us to address this aspect of the relationship once and for all. It don't matter who win because 39 seats is up for grabs. They don't have to care about us over here. Don't get it twisted. Yes, we can hold the balance of power if Trinidad votes a particular way. But if one party down there runs away with the majority of the seats, they don't have to care about us. So we have to make sure that we have people who will be able to hold them to account. We should have people in there who we know will fight tooth and nail for Tobago. That is what we need. We have to understand where the battle taking place. Because they're trying to distract you guys. They're trying to make it look as if it's a PNM, it's a UNC issue, it's a Duke issue, it's a All kinds of things they say. But it's not that. Let's get down to the fundamentals. The fundamental fact of the matter is that this election, and this is how governments are changed in a legal, proper manner, elections. 1990, July 27th, 1990. This year would make it 30 years since an attempt was made to change a government through illegal means. May it never happen again. May it never happen again. But my Tobago people are long suffering. We are long suffering. We will take and take and take and take and take. But you see this time, we are at the point where we can't take anymore. We cannot take any more excuses. We cannot take any more promises. We cannot take any more slick words. We cannot take any more threats. Because what you said yesterday was a threat. We can't take any more. We are adults. We have children. We work. We pay taxes. We make decisions for ourselves and our families every single day. And we have choice. That's why we live in a democracy. The hallmark of democracy is choice. Free choice. And Tobagonians have the free choice to choose who they want to represent them. And you and nobody else. Not you, not nobody on your side, not nobody on our side, not nobody in the middle, and not nobody who doesn't give a hoot can say to any Tobagonian, I will not forgive you for choosing a particular way. You crossed the line, man. And you owe Tobagonians an apology. And even if your words were misconstrued, even if your words, even if you spoke without thinking, if that is the case, then you can be humble enough to say, I didn't mean it like that. Because that is the hallmark of a leader. A leader is someone who can take correction when they are wrong. A leader is a man or a woman who listens to people, and when he recognizes or she recognizes that they have made an out, that he can come back to these people and say, look, I made an out, I am sorry. Can you forgive me? And you and many others have to ask the people of Tobago for forgiveness. It is because we have been long suffering that it took all this time, and it will take more time because Tobagonians were looking for our autonomy issue to be settled before this election was called. You had one job, Dr. Rowley. You had one job. And you failed. You didn't do it. You did not. Okay? You did not do the thing that you said you were set out to do on our behalf. And you have no excuse because there's a PNM Tobago House of Assembly, there was a PNM government at central government, and you say that you're a Tobagonian. You say that you are from us. You say that you grew up in the bosom of Tobago. You're a Mason Hall man. But this Mason Hall man did not sib out Tobago people business. Let me call a spade, please. Tobagonians have to wake up. This is not a PNM PDP issue. This is a Tobago Trinidad issue. You went to central government and fixed Trinidadians' business. And I don't even know how well you did that. They will judge you for that because you're running for a seat in Trinidad. They will judge your performance down there. They will do their performance appraisal, they will tick all the boxes, and they will rate you. But I say, and a number of people are saying, that you did not fix Tobago business. And not only did you not fix Tobago business, you did not even come back and say, look, I'm sorry. Dr. Rowley, you owe the people of Tobago an apology, not just for the autonomy issue, but for your remarks yesterday. That's what you owe us. You presided over a central government for the last 5 years that did not demand accountability from the Tobago House of Assembly. That is what you did. You are the chief accountant to the people of Tobago for your stewardship, to the people of Trinidad and Tobago for your stewardship. You have to account to us for the spending of taxpayers' funds that were given to the PNM-led Tobago House of Assembly to expend on behalf of the people of Tobago. And you have not held them to account. You have not held them to account. All you've done is been like a proverbial schoolmaster. When the children start to make noise, you show up with a big stick. They get quiet.
So true.
1, 2 get licks. And then when you're gone, they start making noise again. That's what you've done. The Tobago House of Assembly has been reduced to a rowdy classroom. That is what you've done. And you put a class monitor there. You put a prefect there. And everybody in the class doing what they want. Who not talking to this one? Who talking nonsense? And you come in, you swoop in like a proverbial headmaster. I could remember being in Bishops, for those of you on my live who went to Bishops. And we had our Dean of Discipline. So who went between I went between 97 and 2002. So everybody would know who the Dean was at that time. And when he came down the corridor, you could hear a pin drop. And you are just like that proverbial Dean of Discipline, that proverbial headmaster of old. You swoop in. The class making noise, you swoop in. You share some licks, you share some pinch. You appoint a prefect and you leave. That's what you've done. That is what you've reduced our Tobago House of Assembly to. Our chief secretary, the office of our chief secretary is equivalent to our prime minister on this island. You appointed a national COVID recovery team in Trinidad, and you did not even see it fit to appoint one of the members of that house to that team. By right, the chief secretary of Tobago should have a seat at that table. By right. Doesn't matter whether or not he could bring anything else substantial to the table, but that is his position. He's supposed to be our chief advocate. He deserves a seat at that table, but no. You have demonstrated on more than one occasion your contempt for the people of Tobago. And your words, I've read your words this morning. I've read your words this morning. Not my words. Not Mr. Duke's words. Not anything anybody wrote and made up. I've read your words. And even though they were being directed back then to others, those same words are applicable to you today. This is Wake Up Wednesdays. My name is Tasha Grace Boris, PDP candidate for Tobago West, and I am proud to represent the Progressive Democratic Patriots. I want all to understand what that name means. Let me dissect Progressive Democratic Patriots for all of 1 second. Progressive. We are speaking into being the thing that we want for Tobago. Progress. Everything we do is with the thought and the action of advancing progress for all the inhabitants of Tobago. It don't matter who you vote for. It don't matter who you support. Your vote is yours. You could jam your finger for who you want, but we want progress for the people and for this island. That's what we want. Democratic. There's democracy. And I will hit back at all of those of you who said, oh, Mr. Duke formed a party. He didn't have no elections. They didn't have no constitution. We were constituted 7 months ago. A party doesn't get built overnight. Mr. Duke started as one man fighting an election in 2015 with a bullhorn under a street light. And he built a party around his message. People rock and come in from all over. That is how a party is built. And it took some time. Parties are not built overnight. People have to come together. People have to be convinced. Some people have to see what you're doing before they decide to come on board. But no party is built overnight. We had an election in November of 2019. Mr. Duke was elected, duly elected as the leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots. We have a national executive with all the attendant arms, and we are still building out our party. Everything is not going to happen overnight. And we will continue to build our party. We will continue to invite people to rock and come in. Because that is what we mean, rock and come in. Bring what you have. We will accept you. If you are willing to learn, if you are willing to listen, if you are willing to contribute, rock and come in. Democratic. Everybody in our party has a voice. The newest member could get Mr. Duke's phone number. And if he comes on the radio and says something that doesn't sit well with that member could call him on the phone and say, hey, Mr. Duke, I didn't like what you said there. And he would listen. Anybody here have Dr. Rowley's personal number? If I join the PNM in the morning, would I be given a card with Dr. Rowley's number? No. He's the leader of the party. You all are members and paying dues. But only certain people can speak to the leader. Is that democracy? And then the final word in that name, patriots. Tobagonians first. Tobago love 100%, 365, 24/7. Patriots. Then I no sellout on this side. They're trying to push a narrative that there would be a sellout. They don't have no sellout. Regardless of who wins in Trinidad, we have to work with them. Because if the PNM wins in Trinidad without the 2 Tobago seats, we have to work with them. If the UNC wins in Trinidad without the 2 Tobago seats, we have to work with them. And if it goes down to the wire in Trinidad and the 2 Tobago seats hold the balance of power, we have to work with all of them. We have to work with all of them, because at the end of the day, I want to let her understand, wake up Tobago. The Constitution says that bill, that autonomy bill, means to pass that bill requires 3/5 majority, which is a special majority, which means that if that election goes down to the wire and nobody gets a clear majority, which is 3/5 and above, we have to work with whoever is there to fix Tobago business. And are you telling me that if Tobagonians vote for PDP, that PNM and UNC will stagnate Tobago because they didn't choose PNM or they didn't choose UNC? That they won't fix Tobago people business because it's too loud, bold, brave Tobagonians who are speaking on behalf of the island of 60,000 strong? Are you saying to me that because all are we for making how much, that they will say, nah, Tobago don't deserve nothing because they vote PDP? That's what you're telling me? When the government is elected, when the parliament is constituted, party politics done. It's people politics. But we put the people before the politics. We don't have to wait for governance. We don't have to wait to get inside to put the people before the politics. It's done there already. We are already showing you what we will do outside of governance. So imagine what we will do when we get in there. And I'm saying to you, I want Tobagonians to wake up. I want all to understand where the game, where it's taking place. Let me break it down for you. Any party that wins a clear majority in Trinidad, we have to work with them. It don't matter who they are. Because at the end of the day, we have to settle this autonomy issue. That is our plan. We have to settle this autonomy issue. We have to settle this budgetary allocation issue. That needs to be settled on behalf of Tobago. So it don't matter if one color runs away with the election down the road. We have to work with them. That is the bottom line. And we would hope that whoever that person is that they have Tobago's best interest at heart. That is my hope. Because if they down there reveal that they don't have Tobago's best interest at heart, then Tobagonians, you have to give us permission to act, you know. You have to give us permission to take this fight where it needs to go. Because the parliament is not the last place that we could advocate for Tobago's issues. It's not the last place we could fight for Tobago. So if when we go down there to see about the business of Tobago, that 39 down there decide, nah, we ain't giving Tobago a chance to talk because they vote black. Listen to me, Tobagonians, you all have to be ready to stand behind us in this fight, you know. You have to be ready to stand behind us in this fight. Whoever wins the majority down there, we have to work with them, as I said. Whether it be PNM, whether it be UNC, whoever gets the majority, if somebody runs away with 25, 26 seats, we have to work with them so they have no sellout. There's no talk about a coalition there. There's a clear government. That is maths. And if the government, if the election, goes down to the wire, and if we have a toss-up down there and Tobago holds the balance of power, where Tobago has the opportunity to either raise somebody to government or remove somebody who was previously there, then trust that the Progressive Democratic Patriots will make the best decision in the best interest of Tobagonians. That's what we would do. Dr. Rowley has already revealed his hand. He has said to us he will not forgive us for choosing otherwise. So does it mean that if he wins, we will not be forgiven? Does it mean that we will be punished for our choice? I want him to clarify that. Because if that's what he's saying, if that is what he's saying, then Tobagonians, I need you to understand the gravity of that. I want you to understand the weight of that statement and the intent behind that statement. It would be nice for Tobago to hold the balance of power. It would be nice. Because it would mean that all of them on that side will be coming to us. They will be coming to us. And we have to make sure and negotiate the best possible outcome for the people of Tobago. That is our intention. Tobago must reach its highest potential. Tobago must become its highest self. We talk about heritage. We talk about she becomes more beautiful. Tobago must be the most beautiful star in that sky. Because we are. We are. It's time that we give birth to this baby. This baby had to get legs and walk and run and jump and become the best. That's who we are. Tobago, you have the opportunity to hold the balance of power. Because you know what happens when you elect representatives who represent Trinidad-based parties? They put the party before you. And we've seen it. They put the party before you. They will stand up in parliament and say, no, you're not suffering. Because all have almond milk in the supermarket. They will stand up in the parliament and say, nah, business going good in Tobago. Them who protesting, them is not no businessmen. They will threaten you with a lekito jambi. I don't even know what is that.
And to cut you off from URP and CPAP country.
They will threaten your jobs. That's what they will do. They will victimize you. They will spite you. They will not renew your contracts. That's what they will do. Because you err on their side. Because you decide to choose differently. That's what they will do. And they have demonstrated on more than one occasion that they're not on all year, they're not on all year. Imagine I walking through the community and people telling me, they ain't see their rep since the last election. How could that be? How could that be? But they'll show up eventually because it's an election again. And they will find everybody in their nooks and their crannies to get them to come out to vote. They will do it. They will take night and make day to do it. But I hope when they reach in front of your doorsteps, I hope when they reach by your gap, I hope, don't send your dog for them, eh? I know some of all the setting for them, do not send all your dog for them. Please. My father used to tell me in the old days, they used to throw pee on people and think, don't do these things, right? I'm saying that you all could be respectful, welcome them into your households, listen to them, but quiz them, ask them questions. Your leader made a comment yesterday. What is your take on that? Do you support that? Ask them. Ask them about the victimization people are experiencing at the level of the Tobago House of Assembly. Ask them about the countless individuals who begging for their gratuity to this day. Ask them about that. Ask them about the missing money that we can't get an account for years after the fact. Ask them about that. Ask them if anybody was sent home. Ask them if anybody was charged. Ask them if they have concerns about the lack of accountability that exists in the Tobago House of Assembly at present. Ask them the questions. Wake up, Tobago. The progressive democratic patriots, we are presenting ourselves. Yes, we are a new party. But we are telling you that we are bold, that we are brave, that we are unafraid to say the things that need to be said. We are unafraid to hold the people who need to be held to account. They have no excuses now. Ask them the questions. Ask them the questions. Ask them the hard questions. Because you see, this that we are in here right now, this is a fight not just for you who are here, but this is a fight for those who have not arrived as yet. This is a fight for our children. This is a fight for our generations. And they have proven to you what they can give. They have done so. That they will talk down to you. That they will misrepresent you. That they will victimize you. If you even want to say boo, they will strangle your voice. That you have to accept whatever it is they dish out with no questions asked. They are showing you what their version of Tobago love looks like. To spend $1 million, so they say, on a sign. And people in Tobago still cannot eat. That there are people in Tobago who have gone through tragedy, who have lost their homes to fire and other things, and have reached out to them for assistance and cannot get a response to this day. Talk
4
the
years.
things.
5 years.
Talk the things. They have shown you what their version of Tobago love looks like. But you see the progressive democratic patriots? You see our version of Tobago love? That is a version of Tobago love I can get on board with, because you know what our version of Tobago love looks like? Our version of Tobago love looks like ensuring that the roof over somebody's head is secure. That ensuring that a young man can get a hearing aid. That an older person can get a wheelchair or some crutches. That somebody who reaches out and says that they need some food assistance can get it. And we're not bringing cameras to take picture of them. That we're not showing off that people come and ask us for food. That is what our version of Tobago love looks like. That when our volunteers, good morning to my extraction team, are on somebody's roof 4-day morning, that we have a pot of food waiting for them. That we have persons who can leave their house and spend all day on the work site. They don't know how to pong a nail in her. They never cut a piece of wood in their life, but they'll be there all day until the end because them guys don't eat until the work done just to serve that food. Just to make sure those guys get something to eat. And that is all the thanks now because we're not paying our soul or asking where the money coming from. We don't have no money. We have no money. It's volunteers and donations. That is how we are fixing people's roof, and we're not taking the money that we get to buy jersey and buy Johnny Walker and pay a man to vote for we. We're demonstrating what we're doing. We're helping people. That is what we are doing. That is our version of Tobago love. Because we love our people. That's what we give. That is all that we intend to give. The Progressive Democratic Patriots. You see that name? That's a powerful name. Progressive Democratic Patriots. We love our island. We will fight for you. That's all we want. The opportunity to go in the places to fight for you. We will be your shield and we will be your sword. Because there will be times that we need to protect you and there will be times that we need to cut down people in front of you to make a way. According to my boy Farley, move Satan, let me pass. Because Satan comes in many forms. Many forms. And we will cut down those Satans who stand in the way of the progress of Tobago. Don't stand in the way of our progress. Don't prevent us from becoming our highest selves. Don't stop us from shoring up for our generations. Don't prevent us from making a better way of life for our children. Don't kill our dreams. Don't strangle our hopes. Don't choke our voices. Take your knee off we neck. We want to breathe. We want to exhale. Time for Tobago to exhale. Time for Tobago to get moving. People, there's work to do. Wake up, Tobago. The time for sleeping is over. We had 20 years to slumber. Some people enjoyed it more than most. Trust me. Some people reap the benefits. And others suffered. Others suffered and have been suffering. But the time for that suffering is over. The time for our people to breathe is here. The time for all of us. Because some of you are happy with the way things are, you know. I could talk until I turn purple in the face. You all will not support me. You all will not support this party. You all will hate me for the things that I have to say. But that is okay because I love all of you. Because my last name is Boris. My great-grandfather had about 80-something children. I could be related to all of you. So all is my family. And I may not like the things that you do. And I may not like the things that you say. But I have love in my heart for you because you are Tobagonian. And at the end of the day, I hope that you would see that I do this out of my love for Tobago. That is what I do. Everything that I've done in my life, every job that I've had, I've performed all of my duties without fear or favor. I don't care who you are, your vote is yours. It's between you and God and the booth on the day. If you like what I say, if you like my fire, if you like what Mr. Duke says, and you like his fire, and you look at our party, and you see the people who have attracted them, who have been attracted to our party, and you see how we operate, and you see the family that is there, and you see that we take care of one another. When you see that and you tell yourself, you know what? This speaks to my core values. This speaks to what I want. This speaks to what I want for my people. And you can get on board with that. If you can do that, Tobago, then we can create the island We can create a first world island. We can create an island that we can be proud of. I'm seeing, some people in the comments talking about enemies. I think a guy spoke about enemies in the time of war is a friend in the time of peace. And that is true. That is very, very true. But is this a time of peace? This is not a time of peace. This is a time when Tobago has to get up and fight for itself. This is a time when once again Tobago has been called to take up arms. Because we are a peaceful people. We are a very peaceful people, but we are long-suffering. We will put on our face, we will smile in the face of the greatest adversity. Because that's who we are. That is who I am as a person. That is how I've been cultured. I am so tired right now. I need a vacation. I wish that I could take a few days off, but I can't. There's work to be done. So that I would come out every day and grind. I will come out every day and do what needs to be done, because this is the time that requires our soldiers. It requires the best that we can give of ourselves. And if we don't understand that we have to build ourselves, nobody would build it for us. Nobody could build us better than we can. It's time we get the opportunity to craft our own destiny. It is time that we get the opportunity to become self-actualized. It's time that Tobagonians could feel like man and woman in their own house. It is time. 46 years down the road since 1976 when Dr. Murray and Mr. Robinson started this journey. It is about time. 44 years down the road. 44 years down the road. Are you telling me that in 44 years we couldn't bring this final issue home for Tobago people, that we couldn't lay to rest, that we should be able to make laws in our own Tobago space, that if we decide that we are going to prosecute crimes against tourists in a tougher fashion versus Trinidad, because we depend on our tourism product, that we could decide to enact stiffer penalties in Tobago once you commit those crimes in Tobago. Tobago people should be able to determine that. That if we want to institute stiffer penalties for persons who have been charged and found guilty of sexual offenses, we should be able to determine that. That if we in Tobago decide that we want to hold our public officials to account and we want to prosecute corruption and misbehavior in public office with stiffer penalties than in Trinidad, we should be able to decide that. And that we shouldn't have to wait. If a parliament or if a cabinet in Trinidad wants to do that, now, we shouldn't have to wait until a cabinet decides, yeah, we could give Tobago that, or no, Tobago don't deserve that. Who is cabinet made up of? If one party gets 25 seats in Trinidad and they form the next government, that means that no Tobagonian would be a member of that cabinet. All I understand what I'm saying? Tobago will have no representation at the level of cabinet. And because of how the constitution is set up, the Tobago House of Assembly is still subject to cabinet. Persons down there who have been elected down there, who have no clue what we go through over here, and who probably don't care. Tobagonians, I want you to wake up and I want you to do some research and I want you to understand. I want you to understand where the fight taking place. The Progressive Democratic Patriots is simply asking for one thing from the people of Tobago. We are asking for the opportunity to be your chief advocates, because Tobago has had no voice. We have had no voice in the parliament, no real voices in the parliament for the last 5 years. And before that, all our voices was subsumed. Subsumed. We will make them listen. We will demand our respect. Imagine that the law stipulates that releases to the Tobago House of Assembly should be done on a quarterly basis. And under this Dr. Keith Rowley-led PNM, that was changed to monthly. I don't even know if it's still monthly. And it probably is, because nobody says anything. They quietly take their monthly allowance and they hush them out. That's what they do. They have sold themselves out. You talk about sellout, the sellout done happen already. Wake up, Tobagonians. When somebody else is in power other than their government, you hear them, disrespect, encroachment. But when their people are guilty of the same thing, they are silent. Okay. All I'm saying to you guys is that just like they have their opportunity to present themselves to you again, asking for your support and laying out what they did and didn't do, I want you to question them. And the same way how when I get the opportunity to present myself to you, and Mr. Duke gets the opportunity to present himself to you wherever we go on behalf of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, that you question us. And then after you have gotten your answers, Tobagonians, I want you to wake up and make a decision. This is one election that you cannot afford not to participate in. This is your chance to legally choose your representatives. This is your chance to do the performance appraisal on the people that went before. And if they don't come up to scratch, this is your opportunity to invite new applications and screen the people who you want to hire to do the work. I come for this work, and I'm asking you to sign me up. My name is Tasha Grace Boris, PDP candidate for Tobago West. We have come to the end of our morning program at the Street 91.9 FM. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for listening. Thank you for contributing to the debate. Thank you for the WhatsApp messages. I will be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. sharp. Tune in again, the Street 919 FM. Take care. Have a blessed day. I hope you guys keep safe until we see again.
I say Watson D for the East, Tasha B for the West.
Straight out in a star.
Yo, this I no joke. Vote. This I no joke. Vote.
You see right
This
now.
I no